Splendor Duel. This is your review for 2. Good day, my name is Joe Gerba. Today I'll be going over Splendor Duel and how it plays with 2 players. Now Splendor Duel is a strictly 2-player game where you'll be drafting these jewel tiles, collecting these gem cards to make future gem cards easy to try to score the most points, and the first one to reach either 20 points, 10 total crowns on the jewel cards they have, or 10 points in one single jewel wins the game. So let's see a little bit more how to play. So in Splendor Duel, there's a couple optional actions that I'll get to, but your main action is going to be taking gems from this main board. So you'll take these gems, you'll take 3 in a row orthogonally or even diagonally. And you can take any but the gold gems. And when you do, you just take them off the board and add them to your area. You can have a total of 10 in your area, and that's the main way to get gems. So instead of the main game of Splendor, you'll have to really deal with this board. If you do take 2 of these pearls, which are the kind of the new color of gem in here, or if you take 3 of the same color, then the opponent's going to get a scroll. These scrolls are going to be an optional action just to take any chip they want on the board. So kind of be careful about what you take. Make sure you're kind of diversifying. And it's kind of Splendor from there. Once you have the appropriate gems to buy a gem card, instead of taking gems on your turn, you'll get a gem card. Now this gem card will allow you to use less gems in the future, and whatever you spend will go in this bag. And that's kind of the more random nature of this game, is all these gems are going to be taken off of this board, and then eventually for an optional action at the beginning of somebody's turn, they're going to have to refill the board before they choose their chips. Another way for the opponent to get a scroll. So you really want to be careful. A lot of decisions to be made as far as when the board is kind of refilled, when you get when you give your opponent these scrolls, what kind of gems you're going to take on your turn. But it's really Splendor with the additional board in the middle. So I don't want to go into too much about how to play, so let's see what I thought about the game. So the components in this game I really like a lot. I will say I'm a huge fan of the small box Splendor Duel footprint. Splendor is a little bit larger box, and for just a 2-player game, this is the perfect size box that I kind of would like for that kind of travel size game. Now the rules itself, pretty good, pretty straightforward. The references, they give you a player aid. I'm a little bit sad that they didn't give you 2 player aids. So that's one of my quibbles about this game is I just wish each person had one of these. It'll be easy to take off the shelf and use as a 1-page reference if both have it. If you sit on the same side of the table, you could probably share it, but sometimes we like to sit opposite, and it'd be nice if there was 2 player aids. Let's talk about setup. Setup's super easy for this game. There's 3 small decks of cards with the 4 nobles, and then really you deal out some cards. You put the gems in a spiral and you're ready to go. So the setup is really easy. Table size, easily 3 by 3, with plenty of room for your drink on the table too. So let's talk about the gameplay. So the gameplay it's fun. It's interesting little puzzle to say, well, if I can only take 2 chips this turn, but I can get this card next turn, or let me maximize my turn and hope that a card with a certain color of gem and jewel will come up. Splendor is a very interesting game about resource collection and kind of seeing what's out there. You can still reserve cards in this game. You reserve a card, grab a gold, when golds are wild. And it's one of those interesting kind of games where you have to have a lot of foresight. I don't often win at this game. My wife's beaten me multiple times. I can't beat my friend Devin from Dads and Dice at this game. I'm just not very good at this game. I don't have the foresight in thinking about these cards while I'm collecting the gems. I usually try to maximize my gem intake without looking at the board state itself. So the gameplay is very interesting. It's a neat take on Splendor, where you're really having to deal with this board. You have to look at the different diagonals, what's next to each other. What's the opponent going to take on their turn? Is there anything out there that they're going to want to take that you can, kind of hoard for yourself? You can only have 10 gems at the end of your turn, but is there a way to block the opponent? So there is a little bit of back and forth, a little bit of cutthroat action if you really are intimate with this game and really trying to block the opponent. A lot of these cards too, what's different from Splendor, they have a little bit of extra action when you pick them up. Some may give you an extra turn. Some may let you take an extra token, take a privilege. I call them scrolls, but you can take a privilege icon on your turn, which just like I said, you spend it, you can grab any one gem on your board at the beginning of your turn. So there's a lot of extra things to think about in this game other than just collecting these cards and letting you spend less gems in the future, or less jewels in the future. So there's a lot more to think about. There's 3 different ways to win in this game: 20 total points, 10 crowns, or 10 points in one category. The 10 points in one category kind of lends me to the Splendor, or the 7 Wonders Duel kind of type, where if you're not really thinking about it or not watching the opponent, they can sneak up on the science track or the war track. This is kind of the same vein, where all of a sudden they may have 8 points in the blue gem and 2 more, and they'll win the game. So a lot to think about in this game, and it's just a nice, easy 2-player game. Let's talk about the replayability a little bit. Replayability is fine. I don't know if you'd play this over and over and over again, but man, to get this game off the shelf, very simple, very easy to get back to the table. So you can definitely open this up, for a game night, or even if you have a quick 30-minute little play session time window, perfect game for that. The luck versus strategy, it is kind of there. It's really high strategy, but you never know. Anytime there's a deck of cards, you never know what's going to come off the top. It may just play into the gems that you have. So there's always going to be a little luck in what comes out in Splendor. So is this game good for 2? And I really do like this game for 2. Is it my favorite game? No. But does it fill up that time spot? That 30-minute kind of time window? I think it really does. I would take this on vacation. Easy to fit in a bag. Easy to play one game while you're waiting on something. I really like the footprint of this game. It's just a nice play on the Splendor kind of universe. Now, if you have Splendor, do you need Splendor Duel? And I would say no. I don't think it adds enough to the base game to warrant having both. I would either have Splendor Duel or Splendor, especially Splendor if you play with more than 2 players. But if you're like a 2-player like me, Splendor Duel is just a perfect size. The big game of Splendor is a little bit more wide open. They just have gems out there with a set amount, so you can't, you can kind of hoard gems and kind of keep it from the other player. You can in this one too, but you're collecting gems from this board. So that's why I would say the big difference is, after about 4, or 2 back and forth, this board starts getting empty, and it starts getting, a question of, well, what do I take now, or do I start reloading the board with the chips that have been collected from the bag? Do I give my opponent this parchment? So it's a good, decent game. There's not a ton of depth in this game, but it's a good, solid game. It's a good, solid learning game for kids. I think both Splendors are just good family games. No bad content. It's collecting and spending. Very neat concept, pretty unique. But if you have Splendor Duel, or if you have Splendor, you don't really need Splendor Duel. So, good game for two. Not my ultimate favorite game, but I really do enjoy the Splendor thought process. So, hope you guys enjoyed the review, and until next time.